A push to strengthen the Iran deal. President Obama is considering new measures to fortify the controversial nuclear agreement with Iran. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Just 2 months before Donald Trump takes office. Here now is Sebastian Gorka. He is the author of Defeating Jihad. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, as senior U.S. official argued, it's hard to tear up the deal, talking about what he thinks Donald Trump might be doing, because U.S. allies and partners, including Russia and China, are committed to it. But, quote, the most important thing we could do is show that it's working. I mean, what evidence is there that it's working?
Well, there's lots of evidence that there isn't, whether it's the hostages, whether it's our naval vessels being buzzed. The fact is, whatever this deal was supposed to bring us on the nuclear aspects alone has been countermanded by everything we've seen in terms of the behavior of Iran and even Iran's proxies attempting to fire missiles against U.S. naval vessels. So this is a catastrophe from the get-go. I understand why the White House would wish to salvage it, but there's nothing there to salvage. In
terms of them trying to obtain and test ballistic missiles, they always say, oh, well, that was part of a UN deal. That wasn't part of this specific agreement. They have violated this specific agreement with the U.S. at least twice, with heavy water that they've obtained and used that they weren't allowed to. On the flip side, the evidence that it's working, I guess, President Obama has said we've stopped them on the path to making a nuclear bomb. And I guess if they wanted to support him, they could offer, all kinds of inspections that would prove that it's working. We haven't seen that, right?
Well, not only that, we're not allowed to have U.S. inspectors. And when there is an inspection that the international inspectors wish to take, we have to give them weeks and weeks and weeks of notice. So it's a farce. It's an utter farce. There's nothing about this deal that substantively puts roadblocks in the way of the IRGC or the mullahs in Iran acquiring nuclear capability.
Let me ask you about something that happened here in New York before we run out of time. This was an arrest that was made here in New York City of a man who expressed a desire to use a large garbage truck to attack pedestrians in Times Square. This is especially worrisome because, of course, this was the latest propaganda out of ISIS, calling on followers to mirror the mass casualty attacks that played out in Nice, France. How worrisome do you think that this is?
Well, absolutely, because it's not theoretical anymore. It's not hyperbole. This is an individual by the name of Naji who was arrested allegedly because he traveled to Turkey, he traveled to Yemen, he was in contact with ISIS, and he actually was intercepted discussing the need or the request by ISIS that this kind of mass casualty attack that occurred in France has to be replicated in New York. And he's just been arrested 3 days before Thanksgiving. So this is how real the threat is to America.
Sebastian, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.